So welcome to my second session. Today we'll be talking about creating Word documents without Word. Some years ago, probably in 2009, I had a client where they had 700 Excel files, each client having their own Excel file, and then they were having another Excel file that was merging that 700 files into one, and then from that large Excel file they were generating Word documents like certificates for the clients, for the external clients. And I was tasked with a solution to this problem, to create like a program and a database for it. And so that, because the problem with that approach was the Excel isn't made for this. You don't create 700 Excel files and you don't create Word documents based on Excel in large volumes like that. So I started searching on the internet on how can you automate Word to a point where it's usable in a company like this. I found out that there's a WordCom object ability. It was before the PowerShell was even considered for me. And I started learning how to use it. The problem with Word automation using the WordCom object is that it actually requires you to have Word installed on your workstation. It actually requires you to, you cannot run it in parallel. So if you would like to generate two documents at the same time or next to each other, it would not work. So you require a license for it to be useful. You cannot generate it on a server. So I started searching for another solution. Then I came up on a Codeplex, there was a project called DocX. It was run by a guy. It was really early started, but it gave me an ability to create Word documents with C#. Now, for some weird reason, the guy actually gave me the project to maintain. I didn't know much about Word back then, but I tried to learn it. And then after he handed over the project to me, he actually vanished like for 5-6 years. And I took the project over and I kept it running by allowing people to submit their content, doing PRs and stuff. It was before even GitHub was started, so it was on Codeplex. There was a lot of people committing different features like adding sections, adding table of contents and so on. And the project has grown a lot, and in about 2016, the original owner came back to me saying that there's this company that promises to develop the product further, that they will add more features, they will keep the version free, there will also be a pay version, and do we want to give it up? Because the project I was running was actually stagnating. I had no time to add more features, I had no time to manage all the requests, and people were demanding, you know, when there's a project with 900 stars on GitHub, it's really used in a wild world. So we gave up the project to the company called Exit Software. Sorry, this is not what I wanted to show. Yeah, I wanted to show you GitHub page. Yeah, so we gave it the project to the Exit Software, and they are now developing the project further. So my library, my PowerShell scripts are based on this project. So the DocX project is a net library that you can use in your own scripts. You can use it in your own C# programs. You can use it however you want. It has lots of features. The only difference is if you use my PowerShell module that I have created, is that I deliver you like a whole package. So if you install my module from PowerShell Gallery, you get the DLL, you get all the commands that I have prepared for you in a PowerShell way, and you get it out of the box. So you can go ahead and just use the DLL yourself. You can create all the PowerShell commands yourself and use this DLL because it does all the magic. So my scripts do the wrapping of this DLL, and they provide you with a simplified version for you to utilize in PowerShell. But if you want really complicated stuff, you can dive in and just use this DLL yourself. So they actually offer like a free version, which is get it all, and it's really full-featured product. You don't really need the pay license if you don't want to, but they actually offer a pay version as well. So if you're into Word in a really deep down and you want to create documents on a daily basis, then you could invest in a pay version, which is licensed per developer, not per company, but per developer doing the development. And it has a lot of different features, like saving to Word to PDF and doing some other nice stuff. One of the core features that it has is a core support in the pay version. So my PowerShell module and the DLL, the free version, only works in .NET. And so the PowerShell 5.1, and that's it. It won't work in Core, it won't work on Linux, it won't work anywhere else. The pay version, however, has, in the newest version, 1.6 that they have released, you can actually work on a .NET Core, so PowerShell 6, PowerShell 7 when it comes out. And that's something to consider when you want to work with it. Now the question is whether Xseed will actually release the core features to the free version, because if they don't, it's possible the product will die out in 3-5 years from now. So it will be their decision whether they want to keep on running the free project or it will die out, because if there will be no people using the standard .NET and just going for the .NET Core. But that's their choice. I have actually go ahead and asked them, and they said they haven't made a decision yet. Also, the difference between pay version and free version is that they have like free releases, 3 different versions. It's 3 versions behind. So it has lots of different fixes. Like per each release, they fix 50 bugs or something, and you get that the difference is pretty huge because it's like 1-2 years between releases that they do. So it's for you to consider this. Now, what I wanted to show you today is like a short demo of some of the features, but I wanted to start with a simple demo, how to create a Word document using Word.com object. And the way it works, you have some code and it produces the output. Like I said before, it actually requires you to have the Word on your workstation, and this just confirms that if Word is visible, it shows up on your screen and you can see what it's doing. If you click really quickly, you can see how it's doing. Oh, it's too fast for me, but you could see how it's filling out the information for you in the document. Now, of course, you can hide it, can change it, and it will hide it, and it will just create the words in the background. Now, the cool feature of this approach is that you can actually do whatever Word offers to you. So if you like to save this Word file as a PDF, you can do so. As you see here, I actually have used this. The same code you see here, it saves at the same time to Word and at the same time to PDF. So there's a file path to Word and file path to PDF, and it actually created the PDF. And if we find it, yeah, we have the test 1, test 2, test 3, and that's it. And it's the same thing for the Word. Yeah. So that's the cool feature about using the COM object. So you can use all the features they have, but you have to be aware that you have to have a license for Word, you have to have Word installed on the workstation, and then it's not that fast. Now, with By using the DLL that I'm using and using my PS-WriteWord PowerShell module, you don't have that kind of problem because it simply works on any workstation, just PowerShell 5.1. You can use it on a server, you can use it anywhere really, as long as the PowerShell 5.1 works. So this is a very simple document. You start it by typing new Word document, you give it a file path, then we add some text to it. We have a page break and the save document. So we have like 5 commands here. They have different features, like you can set for save Word document, which language are we using. So we're telling Word that when we open the document, we want it to be English US-based data. So if we press F5, it will create Word in just a second. So this is a text, then there's a page break, and this is another text with a font size 21, and text says font size 15. Now, this is a very simple scenario where you have just 5 commands and it just works. You can use pipelines for passing the paragraph. You can use pipelines for passing the Word document. I would just recommend you to use it in caution because I am not a fan of pipelines myself. I rarely use it, and it's something for you to consider just to give it as a parameter in a normal way. Now, you see here, there's a suppress parameter here. What it does, it actually suppresses the output of the command. This is because in a Word, Word is built of lots of paragraphs, and you may sometimes want to apply something to a paragraph that is already existing in a document. So when you add a text, and you can save that information where the text is in a document, and then you can apply something else to the same paragraph that you already have. That's, in this case, I don't need it. I actually don't need to have all this stuff because I'm not using it. I could just suppress this, and it would suppress the output of the command because I'm not actually using any assignment to paragraphs, so I could just skip it. If I don't use the suppress parameter, though, there will be lots of output here. Some errors, but let's just ignore it for now. There will be an output of how the paragraph is built. So this is very useful if you want to use, you have existing document, you can actually use it to display stuff, like loop through paragraphs, find the text in a document, replace the text in a document. So this is how we would use it. Now, this is very simple. One, let's have another. So now we have a similar document. We have aligned some text. We have different fonts. We have right, left alignment. We have some justified text. And we can all set that through multiple commands that I have prepared. So you're not dealing with the DLL itself. You don't have to do the net calls to it yourself. I have prepared that for you. I have made sure that the commands are working and they do what they are supposed to do. And there are multiple ways to achieve the same thing. So for example, you can add word, use the add word command, and then align the paragraph to center using the paragraph. So this is where I told you that there is a suppress parameter, and in this case, I'm not using the suppress parameter. So it will return the paragraph to P1, and then I'm using the set word paragraph to do different things with it. Like you can add direction, you can add language per each paragraph. So for example, you can have half of the document written in Polish, half of the document written in English, and you can set different language per different paragraph. This is the same for different kind of scenarios. You can use, for example, if you have you ever used my right color command? If not, for example, I have a right color command which gives me ability to write text and then some text, and then just do color green, red. And it would, in one line of code, you can get 2 colors next to each other, or even 3 or 5. You can add yellow here, and like another color. Let's space another color. Yeah, so we have 3 colors, and it works by providing an array to text field, because this is actually a text, right? And then you provide colors in a same array. So in the order of the array matters, and the same approach from what I have taken the same approach I have for right color for the add word text. That means that you can actually go ahead and if you have a text like this, you can split it, for example. Yeah, let's do a split. We have now 2 texts that will be on the same line, and then we can have font size 15 here, and then we can have color red, yellow. Hopefully it works. Yeah. So that's the approach you take. So you can pass multiple parameters as an array to one command, and it will just do that. It is the same for using like bold. So in the bold you would use true, false, and it should. Yeah, so it made the text bold, and then it makes text not bold. Now, so this, yeah.
If arrays don't match, the rest of the array will get the last parameter, or will you get an error?
You will not get an error. It should. That's the good question. The question is, will you lose if you provide an array that doesn't match, right? If the parameters for the text doesn't match the amount of parameters for the other values, it should not error out. It should continue formatting. If I remember correctly, let me see if there is a there is a continue formatting. So you can, it should use the defaults, I guess. Right? I haven't used this for a while, so the idea here was that it should be, if we let's try to do this actually, continue formatting, but this is not, yeah, this is here. So let's do this test, and we leave it out. Yeah, so we have default value, right? But now if you use continue formatting parameter, it should be here, yeah. Continue formatting, it should actually continue whatever was the last one. It's a nice feature. I have used it a couple of times. So now, where are we? The save word document also has an open document parameter. That's why it opens up automatically for me, but you can remove it. And so if you use it in a production or something like that, you just don't need it. I use it for testing, so it opens up after I create something like this, and I have it ready. Now, I already mentioned this in the last way, but like I said, the add word text command can take multiple parameters, bold, italic, language, and it should continue doing so. There are different options like double strike, strike, spacing after, highlighting. So whatever gives you, whatever word gave you as an option, it's most likely here, and you can use it pretty much. You can change the font for different things. And it should just... And as you can see, it doesn't take any time to generate this. Most of the time is spent on opening the document. If you press just the 5, it's really quick. Okay, so let's go for another demo. This demo actually has footer and headers. In Word, you have 3 types of footers and headers. You can have a different footer for first page, for odd and even pages, and depending on how you want to display it, if you want to add some different text, different paragraphs to footers and headers, you can do so. You just need to make sure that when you want to play with footers and headers, that you define them beforehand. So I'm starting here with add word footer, add word header, and we always need to make sure that we have the Word document parameter, but we can also, for example, use the paragraph parameter. Like I said before, when each of those commands usually have a suppress parameter that is by default set to false. And it returns the paragraph, or it returns the object that is actually useful for you to append stuff to it later on. So if we run this, so this is in header, this is a standard text, this is in footer, we have 2 paragraphs. So as you can see, we don't have anything in footer here and here in header. So depending on your needs, you may want to use the same footer header for different pages, or that's up to you. Yes?
Question. Can I use this add word footer and word footer for existing documents?
Yes. The question from the colleague here was, can you use this Word, PS-Write Word module for existing documents, right? Yes. So you can use this. There is a get Word document command. I have probably something here that will be later on. And it will allow you to actually, this PowerShell module has lots of different things. Like it can load document, it can actually merge 2 documents together. So you can, if you have like a HR department and they constantly tell you, can you please connect these 2 documents for me because it's not working? Yes, you can you have one command and you give two file paths to a Word document and it merges them together. Of course, the problem with merging is that actually has to copy all the content from one place to another. And when it does that, sometimes things don't match. And like I mentioned on the beginning, there's a pay version and the free version. And in each version, they try to fix those things. Like from what I remember, there's a problem with merging footers and headers in a free version. In pay version, they have actually fixed it. It's possible that when they release the 1.7 in pay version, they will release 1.4 in free version, and some of the features will be added back, some of the fixes will be added back. Okay, can continue. So we also have like add the word line, and if we just run it, we can have different kind of lines. I'm not sure if you need it. I mean, I have never used it myself, but it's there for you to use. So if you want to highlight something, you can use different type of lines. Each of the command is actually having multiple parameters, line size, line type, and so on. And just to give you an idea of how many commands this module has, it's really a lot. So it has 108 commands for now. Not everything is useful for you in a day-to-day scenario. For example, if you use add word text, it has all the features like alignment, it has all the colors and everything, but you can actually use the set word command to set word paragraphs or set word text to just use it in a different way. So you can get a text and apply the formatting later on for it. Adding pictures. So if we press F5, it will generate a document. You can have rotation for the picture. You can have size of the picture. So there's different sizes for even the same picture. And as we see here, it's not really complicated. It's just one command to do it. You give a file path to it. You can have image size, let me quickly, image width, image height, rotation. And again, there's always the suppress parameter. Remember that if you don't use paragraphs, if you don't use variables on the left side here, you have to basically use suppress parameter, otherwise it should just throw the paragraph to you back so you can reuse it in a different scenario. As you see here, for example, I'm adding, in the beginning, I'm just adding a word picture, but later on, I'm using get word picture to actually find this picture that's added in the document. So I list all the pictures, and based on that, I add another picture to it. So it's a copy of the picture that we already inserted. You can use that if you have multiple pictures in the document having the same values, and you can just copy it. Or you can use the paragraph, like I mentioned before, to add it to back to a paragraph that is already in the document somewhere. Now, we have a ability to add lists. Now, before, it was the only way to add lists in an easy way. So you would define like an array of things. So just the bullet points, true, false, whatever. You just define the array and you use it as a parameter list data for the add word list. Now you can change it to numbered, and it will be a numbered list. Now, this approach requires you to actually build an array here, and it doesn't give you much control of how all the things are in the array here. But what we can do is we can actually list levels, and I think that should work. Yeah. So you see I have added list levels, and the first list level was 0, the second one is 1, and there's no third one, but it doesn't really matter. It will just ignore this. But if we add like test here, it should do another into it. This is a bit more complicated approach. This is based on an object that you have in your PowerShell already. So I have taken get address as the DSC from Active Directory, and I am actually passing this as a parameter to the add word list, and it does its magic to try and create. Again, I will show you a list. So it's a hash table, and it's actually what it does. It takes the key on the and it makes it on the level 0, and then it takes the value from the hash key from the hash table, and it puts it on a level 1. It's not really configurable, so you have to be really know what you are doing when using this. And I actually didn't like it myself, so I have created another way to create word lists. So you would define a new word list here, and then you would add each item within the word list. And you can have and add multiple word list items, word list item, level 2, text. So if you are dealing with some complicated objects, you can use it to create something really useful. I would recommend this way because add word list can give you unexpected results, as in you have no control over it. In this way, you can control how the list is supposed to look like, sorry. And again, this is the same add word text we are using, saving document. So there's nothing fancy about it. It's like 10 lines of code and you have a working Word document. Now, add word table. There's an add word table, like I mentioned on yesterday's session. So we have a simple parameter called data table, and we give it an array of items. Whether it will be array of hash tables, whether it will be array of custom objects, whether it will be your Active Directory object, it should work correctly. It should display it correctly. And for each add word table, there are multiple parameters like design, colorful list. You can change this, and you have multiple options to choose from, like light grid. Yeah, we changed it. It works like that. I don't have all the color options with me, so you would have to test what this means. This is actually taken from Word, not created by me or anything. Yeah, so we can change the colors to our liking, and then you can have something like out of it, and then window, for example. Yeah, so we have the out of it didn't really work correctly the way I expected it to, but there is an option to do that. Now, it probably has some other parameters that I forgot. Yeah, it has direction, break page after table. All of that you see here is sometimes described on my blog or sometimes described on the GitHub for my project, for the PS-Write project. And some things are not described anywhere, and you would have to just dive in and try to see what the command does, what it does. There's really a lot of options, and I don't have that much time to actually sit down and write documentation. If you can help with documentation after using this, I would be really grateful. So I'm providing this as is. I'm actually starting to rewrite this because after a year of using this, because this module I have created it's like 1 year ago, and after using it over and over again, I have noticed that I'm not using it the way I wanted. And I have learned so much during the year of time that whatever is in there is like code you don't want to look at. It's really ugly code in some places, and I haven't knew much about PowerShell when I written this. This is like my first or second module ever written. So I'm slowly rewriting this, adding more features or fixing the features that I wanted. And so you may expect in next few months for things to change. So some commands to just be evaporate, some commands to be added, and some commands will change how they work. But I'll try to keep it compatible for you at some degree. Now, this is a hash table scenario. So we had in an earlier example, we had different example based on array of custom objects. This is a hash table scenario. The hash table is defined like description, amount, and we pass it as a data table parameter, and it just makes a nice table out of it. In this second case, it's actually 2 hash tables passed to add word table. And it still displays this as next to each other. And the way it does work is that if you have to provide for a hash table transport parameter. If you don't do the transport parameter for the hash table, it will do this. because that's how hash tables are actually working. So you get the name value, and then you would get the description amount 2 times. And we don't want that. We want to have a nice table, so we use the transpose parameter. And the transpose parameter actually does the kind of pivot of the hash table and makes it nice and pretty. Okay. Now, like you asked before, can we get a Word document and can we modify this document? Yes, we can. This is the example I have for, let's try to open this template first. So this is an example creating an invoice. And we're using existing Word document to insert some data into it. So if we go into templates and we open the invoice template, let's see, reveal in Explorer, invoice. Yeah, so we have a very simple invoice. We have my logo here, company slogan, and as you can see, each of those fields that you have here is a field. I have defined in this document the fields that need to be replaced during the creation of this document. Now, this is quite empty, right? There's no company, there's nothing in here except some dummy data. And if we run this code, yeah, so it filled in the IT consultants, Evotech, invoice number, fake company, blah, blah, blah. So it did that by using the fields. So there's a add word custom property where you define which of the value is supposed to be replaced with which value. It's really simple to use. Like you see, it's like 10 lines of code, and you can have it automated. You can have it working in a loop. You can have it working in a run spaces, so you can have it parallel processing. So you can use it on a server, that's fine. Not sure how many of you would actually generate invoice with it, but it's there for you to use. Now, let's see. This is another demo. Okay, so this is taking the same template, but it's filling more information in a different way. We actually have get word picture, and we add this picture to here. So this picture wasn't here. So we found the picture in the document, we found the paragraph that it was in, and we copied this to a different paragraph. Okay, and no, this will be this. Okay. Now this is the third sample, and this one actually fills your data in for the IT services you have provided. So we used this fake information that we had before, and we just added the description into the table and all that. And it works I have defined a hash table for each of the services I wanted to invoice for, and then I created an array out of it. So array of hash tables, of 5 hash tables. Then I found the table within document. So I wanted the last table within document. You can, if you don't do the last table, you will get an array of tables, and you can loop through them and find the table you are after, but I actually wanted just the last table in a document. I wanted to remove the last row because the original table had more rows than I wanted. So I wanted to remove the last word. And then in the add word table, I'm giving the table parameter and providing the value I got with get word table. So as you can see, there's no Word document here parameter for this. If you don't give it and you give it a table or you give it a paragraph, it will apply it to the place. And there's also do not add title parameter, so we don't override the title that way. Now, you may want to have page settings set for your Word document, like margin right, page width. That's up to you. You can do a different thing here. Let's see, margin left, margin top, page height, orientation. So probably if we landscape, portrait. No. So this is portrait, I think. Yeah, oh, sorry. So the portrait is default, so landscape. Yeah, so you can change the way you have Word. Orientation. So we have changed the page setting here with using set Word page setting, but there's also, if you want to have a code that's readable for you, you can use set Word orientation and it will do the same thing. So just different approach for the exactly same scenario. Okay. Now we have also a support for charts. In this example, we have pie charts. So we can have legend on the bottom, legend on the left, and then no legend at all. And the way it works is that you provide a chart name, names to it, like free names, and then values for those, for that chart. Of course, you can define chart legend position to bottom and chart legend overlay. It's up to you. There are some default parameters that are used by default, so if you skip those chart legend position and chart legend overlay, it will most likely take defaults and you don't have to care about it. But if you want to really make sure that the code does what you want it to do, then define it. Okay, so there's the line chart. It's the same approach, just a different way to show the data. And there's the bar chart here. So I'm taking exactly the same data, displaying it in a different scenario for you. You can also protect the Word document, and the protection is with the password, and you can set the restriction type. So you can have like a comments, forms, read-only, track changes, and if you press I cannot do anything, it's read-only, I can stop the protection, but I will need to provide a password for it. Of course, as you know, the password protection for Word documents is not really a secure way to secure your documents, so don't trust it in a way that you would send the document over to someone and be like, okay, he won't be able to modify it or she won't be able to modify it. Now, there's also a way to create table of content. We have multiple sections here, and it auto-creates that content. The way it works is that when you open it up, the first time it asks you if you want to actually update the table of content. If you click no, it will just show the empty table of content. So there's no second way to fix this. Probably in a pay version you would get that ability. If you click now here, the table of contents will be empty and you would have to use update the table yourself. So just keep that in mind. Now, I had the PS Write Word written and I have decided that I need something else, that's something that will be easier for me to create documentation rather than using the PS Write Word. So I created Documentimo based on PS Write Word. It takes a simpler approach to create documents because you don't have all that 100 or so commands and you use only the commands you need. So you have only like table of contents, page break, doc text, doc numbering, and tables and lists. And that is all that there is needed to create a really nice Word document. Actually, I showed this yesterday on a yesterday's session. This is getting the Active Directory information as we go, and it creates the Word document based on that data. So it's really simple. for me at least, it looks intuitive. You just open doc numbering, you put some text in it, you close it. So you can really have a visual way how your document may look like, how it will work. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to say is that I have started, right now the Pay library is not compatible with PS Write Word. I have actually downloaded trial version, which is there for 45 days free, and you can use it with the full scope of it. But I have started adding the features to PS Write Word to support the Pay version. The problem with it is that I have no ability to deliver the DLLs for you to the module the way I do with the free version. It's not possible for me because Exit company doesn't allow the open source projects to deliver the DLLs, even though you need the license key for them to use. So I will most likely write some PowerShell code. I will most likely write some PowerShell code that will actually do this for you. So you will have to download the DLLs from the website, point my script to the path where the DLLs are copied to, and just execute it, and it will do the magic for you. And then you can use it the way you want to. So the document Timo approach is a bit simpler approach, but it actually gives you a lot of power, what you can do with it. It's really configurable and so on. Now, we're going to close this session very soon. I wanted to ask you whether some of you would be interested in Pay version. Would you consider buying the Pay version in the future? Would you have a need for the Pay version, like for core support? Any of you? No? Okay. Because I have 2 licenses to give out. So maybe someone would like to try it out. The license is valid for 1 subscription year, and it stays active after that subscription year goes out. So if you don't want it, I don't have to give it out. If you want it, it's worth like 1,000 euros. So maybe someone will want this to use it. The good thing is that you can actually generate PowerShell Word documents in core version. That's the main thing for me. That's where I would consider buying the Pay version. But with all that, you can already do a lot of stuff. So, are there any questions? Yeah?
Is the right color the default commandlet?
No, it's called, you can use install module ps write color. But if you use any of my modules, you already have it. Because I'm like pushing it through all the stuff. Yeah?
Does it work with Word template files? .x and .n?
To be honest, I don't remember. I have written it like 1 year ago. It may support something, but it's possible. Yeah?
Can you send the created Word document directly to a printer?
No. You don't have, the problem with this is that what it does, it creates an XML file beneath it. It just, because if you ever work with docx, you can just rename it to zip, and then the content of it is XML. So it works on the XML level, building that up for you, and it doesn't have all the features. It doesn't know the page counts and stuff like that. So it doesn't have the printing, it doesn't have save to PDF. They actually have to add this feature yourself. So you would need a Word, and that's where you can, for example, create a Word documents using the PS Write Word, and then use the com object that I have shown in the beginning to save as PDF. So you just load the Word you have created with PS Write Word, and then save as PDF, or you can send it to printer with the com object. That would be the easiest solution to this. Anyone else? No? Okay, thank you for this. I think I have some slides here still. last year, last day, I forgot about it. So about me, you can find me. Let's make it. No, I wanted. No, from beginning. No. Yeah. So I have a lot of stuff on my blog regarding the PS Write Word, document TMO, and everything I do is on my blog. Like I write a lot of different stuff. You can find all the code. It's all open source. It's all MIT license from my side. So if you take the license, if you take any code from my side, so the PowerShell code is free for you to use the way you want it. Of course, the license for the DLLs and stuff is the respective license, so just be careful. You can follow me on Twitter or Twitter Evotech, which is my company, and the way it works is that on my Twitter, I do it personal stuff. I paste something that I'm really proud of, and on Twitter Evotech, I'm doing like announcements, blog posts, stuff you may be useful for you. I may, for example, just tell that I have released new version of PS Write Word, but I won't explain what has changed. Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. Just, if you want to, you can follow me, you can contact with me. So thank you for today. Hope you enjoyed it.